Hey everybody, welcome to the studio detail video of our new Ducati Panigale V2S. In today's video, we're going to give you the deep dive on this motorcycle, all the specs, all the technical features, all the strange oddities and weirdness that this bike has, because it does have quite a few of them, and some of the more controversial features about this motorcycle. Now, of course, this bike is a giveaway bike on yammynoob.co. That's our website that we run here as a way to give back to you watching our videos. Click the link down below and become a member today. You get access to exclusive content, our Discord server, and of course the ability to stack up your entries and win some motorcycles just like this. It's our way of saying thanks to you and supporting the show. We wanted to extend a big congratulations to Andrew, who recently won our Honda CBR 650R, pictured here, loving life and enjoying everything about that motorcycle. Now, let's take a look at the heart of this bike, the engine, because that's where the controversy starts. The thing that has everybody up in arms on the internet right now is this right here. The new V2 motor found in this Panigale, this 890cc mill producing 120 horsepower and 69 foot-pounds of torque. You might say, Yam, that's 35 less horsepower than the 955cc Super Quattro found in the old Panigale. What is the deal here? Well, Ducati's design brief for this motorcycle was lightness, intuitiveness, low riding effort, and a wide power band. And honestly, they had to put a new motor in this thing. The old 955cc Super Quattro engine with its Desmo valves, racy vibes, just didn't make a whole lot of sense in the super sport category going into 2025. Instead, Ducati made this mill, which is, I kid you not, 21 pounds lighter than the Super Quattro engine. Lightness is going to be a theme you see here, as mentioned at the top of this video. So you have a lighter motor making great power and accessible power too. This thing makes torque in the middle, right where you want it on the street. This motor is way more advanced than the Super Quattro engine. It has spring valves doing away with the Desmos. It has finger followers and variable valve timing as well. This means that you don't have weird dead spots in the middle of the rev range like you would in other products such as the MT-09's motor and other engines coming out nowadays that just have that weird ECU tuning. This thing is phenomenally linear on road. But the advancements in the engine aren't the only thing that's new on this motorcycle. Let's look at the chassis a little bit. There's no doubt about it, the number one thing that you've heard about this motorcycle is it makes way less power than the outgoing Panigale V2. But here's the thing, Ducati didn't build this motorcycle to try to make it more powerful than the Panigale V2, because that honestly doesn't make any sense. The old Super Quattro engine with its Desmo valves and 155 horsepower was sort of a product of a bygone era. Ducati's brief for this motorcycle was lightness, intuitiveness, low riding effort, and a wide power band. So this engine alone is 21 pounds lighter than the outgoing Super Quattro, and that's pretty amazing. The other features that this has over the Super Quattro is it has valve springs, no longer Desmos. That means wider service intervals. 18,000 miles on a brand new Ducati is pretty sweet. I can remember a time when it was every 7,500 miles, it needed major service. The other thing this thing has also is variable valve timing. This gives the engine characteristics a nice amount of spread in the middle for the torque. You have nice accessible power in this motorcycle. You're not gonna be chugging it along. You're not gonna be having to rev it out. All that's accessible low down. Again, making it intuitive and easier to ride. Now, of course, making this bike intuitive and easy to ride also has to do with the chassis and the ergonomics. Let's talk a little bit more about this motorcycle setup. The engine wasn't the only place that Ducati saved weight on this machine. As we swing a leg over this bike, you'll notice that it's very easy to maneuver because it weighs just a little over 400 pounds wet and ready to ride. With 120 horsepower, that's actually a superior power to weight ratio than the original 916. This thing falls more in line to the old school super sports, maybe even the 848. To me, this is more of a classic, great road going Ducati. As I put my hands on the handlebar here and put my feet up on the pegs with my rider approved Birkenstocks, this bike feels great, man. It feels like a motorcycle you could spend a lot of time in, but you could still attack some twisties with. It kind of seats a lot like an RS660 or a new R9. You'll see the clip-ons are raised a little bit from the triple tree, fully integrated as well. So if you wanted to get something a little more aggressive, you would have to get a new triple tree and modify things a little bit. Ducati does sell a track pack for this motorcycle if you have the coin. I'm not even gonna tell you what it costs because it's kind of outrageous. Reach into the motorcycle here, we have hydraulic brake and clutch. It's just a very premium look out of the dash here, something you could be really proud to own and ride. And again, that lightness is gonna be amazing both on road and on track. When you're backing this thing out of your garage, when you're moving it around, when you're hustling it through the twisties, you're really gonna appreciate the fact that this motorcycle is lightweight. Now, the controversies don't just end with the weight and the motor. Let's talk about the rear end of this bike and go over something you may not like to see. The diehard Ducatisti among you have already noticed what I'm about to point out, but this bike has a dual-sided swing arm. I know, absolute sacrilege for a Ducati product to come with this, but hey, even the new V4 has a dual-sided swing arm because it turns out it's a little bit better than the single-sided one. So this one's actually hollow as well too, really goes to show you the commitment to lightness that they have. I don't really have as much of a problem with the swing arm. I think if it works better and performs better on track, great. What I do have an issue with is this exhaust routing. What were we thinking, Ducati? What even is this? Did we try to make it look kind of like an R model? Some of those final edition Panigales with the two cannons going out the back to remind the world that it's a twin cylinder motorcycle. I would have loved to have seen something just further down here, a little bit more demure, a little bit more laid back. This whole routing here just looks a little crazy in my opinion and wasn't really necessary. Now, the thing I did want to point out to you further down on the swing arm is a really strange quirk that prevents you from putting this motorcycle on a rear stand. In maneuvering this motorcycle around the shop, I discovered that it has a rear wheel speed sensor. No big deal, it's got advanced electronics. I'm sure it's sensing wheel speed and doing all kinds of cool stuff. But it has this wire that's just kind of dangling underneath here. So in order to get this motorcycle up on a rear stand, you're definitely gonna need the spools. You can't just use the little rubber tabs because this gets in the way and you do not wanna squish that with a rear stand. Let's look at some other weird stuff on this bike. Being that it is a Ducati, it is of course a little strange in the cockpit as well. You'll notice over here that the ignition and the kill switch are a bit of a funny configuration. As we flip the key on over here, you actually push this up to activate the fuel pump, and then you press this button to fire it up. Kind of the opposite how it works on most motorcycles, which is usually down and then down as well. The TFT display here is very nice, very easy to read. I have it set in the dark mode over here, which is absolutely the way you should set it up. You should never use light mode. I mean, come on folks, what are we doing? You got rain mode, sport mode, road mode, and of course race mode as well because it is a Ducati, all highly configurable. It has a 6-axis IMU with lean sensitive controls, TC, wheelie control, and ABS that you can disable at the rear. This motorcycle really is very top-notch when it comes to the electronics. We're seeing trickle down from the V4 products into the new V2s and ultimately into the other 890 engine Ducatis that this is going to share parts with. Now, speaking of sharing parts, this motorcycle actually is brand new from 2024. It basically shares no parts with the old Panigale. It's a clean slate design, which is pretty sweet. Looking over here at the left-hand side of the cluster, I've never seen controls that look more like a PS2 controller in my life. I don't know how many more buttons they can put on these things, but I guess if you have all that space-age technology to control the motorcycle, you need lots of buttons. One of the funnier ones is the fact that you have cruise control on this machine. You might say, oh my God, yeah, finally, the Panigale's got cruise control. I thought that was against the ethos of the company, but it turns out it's an added option that you need to pay for, along with the heated grips, which is a button you have on the right-hand side as well. And at $18,995 for this V2S model, it's pretty crazy that it doesn't come with cruise control or heated grips as standard. What it does come standard with, though, is a pit limiter mode and a launch control mode on the S model. So pretty sweet. Being a new Ducati product, this of course has an up and down quick shifter using an auto blip as well. But take a look at this rod right here. Notice anything missing? There's no sensor on this because the quick shift sensor is actually further down the system in the barrel of transmission over here. What this new quick shifter allows Ducati to do is ask for gear changes without full load. A quick shifter system historically was used on the racetrack. When the motorcycle was at full load, you could slip the gear through the transmission by cutting the ignition timing for just a split second. But nowadays, on road-going transmissions and on adventure bikes and everything else in between that has a quick shifter now, Ducati realized that most users are not going to be going wide open throttle, so they had to tune things a little bit differently. Now, I'm not kidding when I say this is one of the best quick shift systems on the market today. The shifts are crisp, the auto blip is excellent, and I really have to applaud Ducati on this new 2.0 quick shifter system. Another area you can see a lot of improvement on this model over the previous model is heat management. Now, I did mention this exhaust routing is pretty crazy, but at least it's not like the old exhaust in the V2 that literally routed right underneath the seat. Yes, on the old V2, you had a super hot exhaust pipe literally right underneath the tail over here. So this bike runs a lot cooler. It's in a less state of tune, which means that it's not putting out as much heat. Ducati also is infamous in the MotoGP grid for their aerodynamics, and this motorcycle has quite a few interesting scoops and shapes and air going through the chassis and places to cool it down way more than you'd imagine. So in the past, Ducati Panigales ran hot. They were hot-blooded. They were kind of crazy motorcycles. This one, a little bit more laid back, runs a little bit cooler, and honestly, it's a lot easier to live with too. The seat has a pretty good amount of padding. It's still nice and shallow like a real sport bike seat should be, but it's just a more livable bike in general. The V2S also, of course, has pretty limited passenger accommodations. This back seat, not really a seat, cowl, not really a cowl thing over here. You unlock it to open it like this, and you see that it's a pretty small amount of space back here. You're definitely gonna wanna wear a backpack or bring some sort of tank bag or something like that on this machine, because all you can really fit back here is maybe a Ziploc bag full of cookies for a snack on the road or something like that. Of course, as well, the Panigale V2S features no passenger pegs either. So your passenger would just have their legs dangling. So kind of just want to ride this one alone. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive on the Panigale V2S. We're really excited to have this motorcycle, and I love getting them here in the shop and just taking a closer look at all the ins and outs. This thing really does have some weird things on it. We didn't even talk about the fact that there might be 2 stators up at the front of this motorcycle. The Olin suspension has a remote preload adjuster. Really top-notch stuff on this bike. Really a lot of fun to take a look at. Remember, it's a giveaway bike over on yammynoob.co. Become a member today, lock in your chances to win this machine. In just a few days, you're gonna see the track test on this bike, and of course, we're gonna get producer Logan on it to see his first time on a sport bike. Yes, he's never ridden a true blue sport bike, and why not try a watered down Ducati as the first one to get his palate a little bit wetted. All right, folks, thanks so much for checking out today's video. We truly appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Keep watching Yammy Noob!